Folder not found. Create new folder. Darrell Rutter speaking. Darrell Rutter's explosive report has pulled back the curtain on a quiet but significant battle playing out in Cleveland. The Browns, according to Rutter, have been secretly engineering their quarterback competition to favor Dillon Gabriel. DG speaking, while sidelining Shedeur Sanders from the start. It's not just about a job battle.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
It's about control. KS speaking, Coach Kevin Stefanski and the front office have reportedly manipulated the entire situation to protect a traditionalist culture, one that fears Sanders' leadership and confidence, instead preferring the safer, more predictable path with Gabriel. This scandal goes beyond one team's dysfunction. It reveals a systemic issue within the NFL, a league where charismatic, confident leaders like Sanders are often silenced to maintain outdated power structures. As Sanders' potential is stifled in Cleveland, the question looms larger. Will the NFL evolve to embrace the next generation of bold, outspoken quarterbacks, or continue to suppress them in favor of safe, system-driven players? The fate of Sanders' career might be the catalyst for a much-needed cultural shift across the league. The NFL is in turmoil after an explosive report from Cleveland insider Darrell Rutter exposed the Cleveland Browns' manipulation of their quarterback competition. What was presented as an open, competitive evaluation process between Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel has turned out to be nothing more than a scripted setup from the start. The Browns, under head coach Kevin Stefanski, allegedly orchestrated a scenario where Sanders was systematically sidelined, while Gabriel was fast-tracked into the starting role. This isn't just a one-off misstep by a single organization. It's a scandal that could reverberate throughout the entire league. The Browns, who've been searching for stability at the quarterback position for years, have been accused of actively suppressing one of the most exciting young quarterbacks the NFL has seen in a long time. Sanders, with his combination of leadership, confidence, and playmaking ability, was never given a fair shot. Instead, he was placed in a carefully controlled environment, where every opportunity was stacked against him. The implications of this revelation are profound, and the timing couldn't be worse for the NFL. The league has long portrayed itself as a meritocracy, where the best player wins the job, regardless of their background or personality. But Rutter's report shines a light on the fact that, in the Browns' case, merit wasn't the deciding factor. It was a predetermined agenda. Gabriel, by all accounts, is a solid quarterback. But this isn't about who is the better player. It's about who fits into the team's predetermined narrative, who doesn't rock the boat, and who falls in line with an outdated system of control. The Browns, it seems, were far more comfortable with Gabriel, a player who doesn't challenge the status quo, than with Sanders, who could bring a fresh, charismatic energy to the team. Sanders, who had already made a name for himself as a leader and a player who commands attention, was seen as a threat. His leadership qualities, his confidence, and his personality didn't fit into the mold that the Browns management had carefully constructed over the years. And so they decided to silence him. They didn't want to take a risk on a player who could potentially rock their boat. Instead of embracing his talent, they suppressed it. From the moment Sanders arrived, the deck was stacked against him. He was given fewer opportunities, his reps were limited, and his practice scenarios were designed to make him fail. Meanwhile, Gabriel was given every chance to succeed. Whether it was more reps with the first team or more favorable game situations, Gabriel had a clear edge, and it wasn't based on his performance. It was based on a narrative the Browns had already constructed in their minds. The broader problem, of course, is that the Browns aren't the only team operating this way. Rutter's leak exposes a much larger issue within the NFL. The league prides itself on being a meritocracy, but the reality is far from that. Some franchises, especially those with outdated, control-driven cultures, are far more interested in maintaining the status quo than in giving real opportunities to players who challenge it. And this isn't just about Shedeur Sanders. This is about the future of the NFL. What happens when teams systematically suppress players who could change the game? The NFL claims to value leadership, but it also fears it. They claim to value the best talent, but they're often more interested in protecting a narrative that keeps control in the hands of a few. Shedeur Sanders represents the new generation of quarterbacks, players who are confident, outspoken, and ready to take the league by storm. And it's clear that the NFL, or at least some teams like the Browns, are intimidated by that. So, what does this mean for the future of Sanders? The situation in Cleveland has already set him back, but his talent is undeniable. Now that the truth is out, he has the world's attention. If he doesn't get a fair shot with the Browns, another team will recognize his potential. The NFL knows what kind of talent they're dealing with. The question is, will the Browns wake up and realize what they've done, or will they continue down this path of self-sabotage? If Sanders gets another opportunity, whether with the Browns or another team, it's a moment the NFL will be watching closely. Because if he succeeds, it won't just be a personal victory for him, it will be a defeat for the old guard. It will show that the future of the NFL is about more than just playing within the lines. It's about empowering players to lead, to challenge the status quo, and to shape the future of the league. For the Browns, the question is whether they can recover from this scandal. Can they ever repair the damage done to their credibility? Even if they suddenly turn things around and give Sanders the opportunity he's been denied, the trust between the team and the player may already be broken. They've exposed themselves as a team that is more interested in controlling the narrative than in fostering real competition. That's not something you can easily fix. And what does it mean for the NFL as a whole? If franchises can manipulate quarterback competitions behind the scenes, what happens to the league's so-called meritocracy? What happens to players who are sidelined because they don't fit the mold? The league is now faced with an uncomfortable truth. Its system, while built on the idea of competition, is being undermined by the very teams that claim to embrace it. The situation in Cleveland is a symptom of a much bigger problem, one that threatens to erode the integrity of the league itself. This isn't just about Shedeur Sanders. It's about fairness, transparency, and whether the NFL can change its outdated culture before it's too late. Players like Sanders are the future of the league, and it's time for the NFL to recognize that. The league can't keep suppressing talent just to maintain control. It can't keep favoring the status quo over the fresh ideas and leadership that are desperately needed. The Browns may have thought they could manipulate their quarterback competition, but in doing so, they've revealed a much larger issue that the NFL can no longer ignore. Whether Sanders stays in Cleveland or finds a new home, one thing is clear: his future is bright. And if he proves himself elsewhere, the Browns' loss will be the NFL's gain. Let us know what you think. Should Shedeur Sanders stay in Cleveland and prove himself, or should he demand a trade? Do you believe the NFL will change its approach to quarterback development after this scandal? Share your thoughts in the comments, hit like if you're tired of rigged competitions, and subscribe for more updates on this unfolding drama. The NFL is watching and so are we. The Cleveland Browns thought they could quietly bury a talent like Shedeur Sanders under layers of control and manipulation, but now the truth has exploded into the public sphere, and the NFL is in turmoil. A bombshell report from Cleveland insider Darrell Rutter has exposed the entire scheme, one that was designed to sideline Sanders from the start and elevate Dillon Gabriel in a so-called quarterback competition that was anything but. What's being revealed isn't just a series of bad decisions from the Browns front office, but a systemic problem that could have ripple effects throughout the NFL. Rutter's report uncovers what appears to be a deliberate strategy by Browns management, led by head coach Kevin Stefanski, to orchestrate the quarterback battle from day one. Sanders, the highly touted rookie with leadership, presence, and potential, was kept in the shadows. Instead of giving him a fair shot to compete, the team intentionally limited his reps, placed him in unflattering game scenarios, and kept him from ever truly showing what he could do. Meanwhile, Gabriel, who was the team's preferred quarterback from the outset, was given the spotlight, the reps, and the praise regardless of performance. This wasn't a competition at all. It was a performance scripted to make sure Gabriel looked like the winner. The problem here is about much more than just one team or one quarterback. It's about the culture of control that still pervades some NFL organizations. It's about the systemic bias against players who are too charismatic, too confident, or too unwilling to play by the unspoken rules of franchise obedience. This story isn't just about Shedeur Sanders, it's about the league's long-standing fear of players who challenge the old guard. And now, that fear has led to the Browns making a decision that could haunt them for years to come. The NFL in theory is a meritocracy. The idea is that the best players should get the opportunity to compete and perform. But what Rutter's report exposes is that the Browns didn't care about merit. They didn't want a truly open competition. What they wanted was control over their quarterback narrative, over who would lead the team, and ultimately over the kind of leader that player would be. Gabriel, despite his solid but unremarkable talents, fit their mold. He was easy to manage, quiet, and unlikely to challenge the hierarchy. Sanders, on the other hand, was a natural leader who brought with him not only skill but the kind of presence that could shift the culture of the team. And that, for the Browns, was a problem. The Browns are not alone in their approach. While the NFL might publicly tout the idea of open competition, there's a significant undercurrent of teams operating with an outdated view of leadership and quarterback development. Many NFL teams still adhere to a traditionalist view of the quarterback position, one that values stoic leadership, obedience to the coach, and a quiet, professional demeanor. The idea of a quarterback who is outspoken, media-savvy, and willing to lead with confidence doesn't always fit into that vision. And it's players like Shedeur who embody that new era of leadership that some teams are willing to suppress rather than embrace. What the Browns have done is more than just bad for Sanders, it's bad for the league. The NFL prides itself on cultivating the best talent and giving players the tools they need to succeed, but that's clearly not what happened here. By rigging the competition in favor of Gabriel, the Browns denied Sanders the chance to grow and prove his potential. And it wasn't just a small misstep. This is the kind of sabotage that can ruin a player's career before it even begins. Now, the league is forced to reckon with the question. If one team can do this to a promising quarterback, how many others are doing the same thing behind closed doors? And it's not just about fairness. It's about what happens to the players who don't fit into the system. Sanders was clearly too much of a threat to the traditional top-down structure the Browns have built. His confidence and leadership could disrupt the carefully crafted environment they'd created. That's why they tried to bury him from the start, limiting his exposure and forcing him into a mold that didn't suit him. The Browns' decision isn't just about keeping Sanders from competing, it's about denying him the opportunity to prove himself. How can a quarterback show his worth when the game is rigged from the beginning? The entire situation reeks of favoritism, and not just towards Gabriel. It reflects a broader fear of leadership, a fear of change. The Browns didn't just manipulate a quarterback battle, they revealed how scared they are of the future of the NFL. And here's the thing, the public now knows. The NFL can no longer hide behind the curtain of fair competition. The Browns' actions have exposed a deeply ingrained issue in the league, and it's one that's going to cause a reckoning. The public outcry has already begun. Fans, analysts, and even former players are speaking out, calling for more transparency and accountability. The NFL's image is on the line. Because if teams can just rig quarterback battles, what's next? What happens when they decide to manipulate the careers of other players? The credibility of the entire league is at stake. But what about Shedeur? What happens to him now? His career has already been set back by this manufactured narrative. He hasn't been given the opportunity to showcase his full potential, and that's something that's hard to recover from. The Browns have robbed him of that chance. But here's the thing. Shedeur is still one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league. His skills, his leadership, and his ability to perform under pressure are undeniable. The moment he gets a real shot, whether it's in Cleveland or somewhere else, he's going to show the NFL what he can do. And when he does, the Browns are going to have to answer for what they've done. They will have to answer for stifling a player with real potential for the sake of control. The question that remains is whether the Browns can recover from this. Can they fix their mistake and give Sanders the chance he deserves? Or will they continue to deny him that opportunity, choosing instead to stick with their broken system? Either way, they've made a massive miscalculation. They have not only damaged their relationship with Sanders, but they've also opened up a much larger conversation about how the NFL treats its players, especially those who challenge the norm. This scandal also has larger implications for the NFL as a whole. If the Browns can get away with rigging a quarterback competition, what does that say about how other teams are evaluating talent? What happens when the best players aren't given the chance to compete because of political maneuvering, image control, or fear of change? It's time for the NFL to step up and answer those questions. Shedeur represents a new wave of quarterbacks, players who are confident, who lead with their voices, and who aren't afraid to challenge the traditional structures of the game. The league can either embrace that or try to suppress it. But the truth is, players like Sanders are the future. And the NFL can either adapt, or it will be left behind. The Cleveland Browns are in crisis mode, and not because of another poor season or a losing record, but because they've set in motion a scandal that's shaking the very foundations of the NFL. A report by Cleveland insider Darryl Rutter has exposed the Browns' attempt to rig their quarterback competition, intentionally sidelining Shedeur and favoring Dillon Gabriel from the very beginning. What was presented as a fair and competitive evaluation of two young quarterbacks has now been revealed as a well-orchestrated charade, designed to elevate Gabriel while suppressing Sanders. This isn't just a bad decision, it's a dangerous precedent for the NFL, and the ramifications of this scandal will likely reverberate for years to come. The Browns, already infamous for their dysfunction and constant coaching changes, have now made headlines for all the wrong reasons, revealing not just their own failings but a broader issue within the league. The NFL prides itself on competition, merit, and the idea that the best player will rise to the top. But if the league's top franchises can manipulate quarterback battles, what happens to players who don't fit their preordained narrative? What happens to the league's future stars? Reuters' bombshell report pulls back the curtain on what many suspected but couldn't prove. The Cleveland Browns quarterback competition was rigged. The Browns, instead of conducting a fair evaluation between Sanders and Gabriel, orchestrated the entire battle. From the first snap of training camp, the team favored Gabriel, giving him more reps, more media attention, and more opportunities to succeed. Meanwhile, Sanders, who entered the league with the promise of being a future star, was sidelined. The team's management, led by head coach Kevin Stefanski, orchestrated a scenario where Sanders could do little more than watch from the sidelines. His opportunities were limited, and when he did play, it was with less than ideal personnel or in situations designed to make him fail. Why would the Browns do this? What could possibly motivate an NFL franchise, desperate to find its next franchise quarterback, to suppress the talent of a player like Sanders? The answer lies in the Browns' deep-rooted culture of control. Cleveland has long prided itself on an atmosphere where players are expected to fall in line, keep their heads down, and never challenge authority. They prefer their quarterbacks to be quiet, obedient, and non-threatening. Players like Sanders, who are confident, media-savvy, and unafraid to lead with charisma, don't fit that mold. And that's where the Browns made a fatal error. Instead of embracing Sanders' potential and letting him compete on a level playing field, they suppressed it. They didn't want a quarterback who could come in, take charge, and change the culture of the team. They wanted someone who would quietly accept the role, do his job without rocking the boat, and fit neatly into the team's rigid expectations. This fear of Sanders' personality, of his leadership, is what ultimately led to his exclusion. His confidence and outspoken nature were seen as threats to the established order. The Browns' leadership, rather than recognizing those traits as qualities of a future leader, viewed them as obstacles to their own control. The situation in Cleveland isn't just a reflection of one team's mismanagement, it's a larger commentary on the outdated and flawed thinking that still prevails in some NFL organizations. It's a reflection of the NFL's struggle to evolve with the times, to embrace a new generation of players who bring a different kind of leadership to the table. It's about organizations that still value obedience over talent, predictability over innovation, and silence over charisma. The NFL, at its core, still seems to be in love with the idea of a quarterback who can be controlled, one who doesn't make waves, one who sticks to the script. But that approach in the modern NFL is dangerous. The question now is, how many other teams are doing the same thing? How many quarterbacks, especially those with strong personalities, are being held back, suppressed, or buried because they don't fit the team's narrative? How many Shedeur Sanders types are out there, talented and ready to take over, but stuck behind closed doors and manipulated into being unready? Reuters' report isn't just about Cleveland, it's a warning to the entire league. What does this mean for the future of Shedeur Sanders? His career, at least in Cleveland, appears to be in jeopardy. The damage done by the Browns' manipulation could set him back years. He's been given fewer chances to prove himself, and those limited opportunities have been stacked against him. The fact that he hasn't been able to showcase his full potential means the road to becoming a starting quarterback in the NFL just got a lot harder. But Sanders is far from finished. His talent, leadership, and potential haven't gone anywhere. In fact, this whole situation has only amplified his profile. If the Browns aren't willing to give him the chance he deserves, someone else will. And that's the real question here. If the Browns continue to keep Sanders on the sidelines, how long before another team steps in and gives him the shot he's been denied? It's already clear that Sanders is a leader, both on and off the field, and when he finally gets the opportunity to prove himself, the NFL will be watching closely. The real challenge for the Browns will be whether they're ready to embrace change or whether they continue down their path of dysfunction and self-sabotage. If Sanders succeeds elsewhere, if he thrives under the right coaching and in the right system, the Browns will have a lot of explaining to do. Not just to their fans but to the entire league. They'll be forced to answer for how they mishandled a talent that could have been their future. They'll have to own up to the fact that they were afraid of leadership, afraid of change, and ultimately, afraid of a quarterback who didn't just play the game but could lead it. The NFL, too, will have to confront the implications of this scandal. If teams can manipulate the quarterback competition process, if they can control who gets to succeed and who doesn't based on outdated notions of leadership and control, then the league's meritocracy is in question. The NFL needs to ask itself if it's truly fostering a competitive environment or just enabling a system where the best players are often the ones who fit the mold, not necessarily the ones who can lead their teams to greatness. So what now? The Browns have painted themselves into a corner. They can continue to play their tired game of control, hiding behind their manufactured quarterback competition, or they can finally give Sanders the opportunity to prove himself. But they've lost the benefit of the doubt. Whatever happens next, the world is watching, and if Sanders thrives somewhere else, it will be the Browns who look like the real losers. Let us know your thoughts. Should Shedeur Sanders push for a trade, or should he stay and fight for his chance in Cleveland? Will the Browns finally wake up and give him the opportunity he deserves, or will they continue their pattern of self-sabotage? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like if you believe in fair competition, and subscribe for more updates as this drama continues to unfold. The NFL might not have been ready for this, but the truth has already come out, and it's only a matter of time before the league has to reckon with it.